Okay, so we need to finish up some examples for 7-1. Okay, so 7-1, these are the types of problems. This is what it looks like. It's not, like I said, just, you know, like a set of like 5 problems where you're doing the same thing over and over. It's a little bit different. So I want to sketch the graph of my fixed point, which is like the focus, and the line, which is the directrix. So I'm going to go ahead and sketch that. So the point is at 0, -2. I'm going to call that F, just so I have a name for it, and it stands for focus there. And then y equals 2. What type of line is y equals 2? Horizontal. So this is my directrix. Okay. It doesn't ask me to find the equation. I'm just verifying that the given points are in equal distance from the focus and the directrix. So let's graph these points. I'll do P first and then the others. So 12, -18. Okay. So here's P. And that is 12, -18. Okay. Now it says verify that the distance from each point to 0, -2 is equal to the distance from the point to the line y equals 2. So I'm going to show then that this distance is equal to the distance from the point to the line. Well, remember, when you're doing a distance from a point to a line, you have the formula you did on the warm-up, but when it's horizontal or vertical, we can just count units. And it has to be perpendicular. So P, drawing a line from P to L has to be perpendicular. So I'm going to draw just a vertical line right there. So I know that has to be perpendicular. Okay, so I'm verifying that those are equal distances. I notice that this point here is the same x-coordinate, so 12, and the y-coordinate, since it's on that line, would be 2. So I could use distance formula. That's kind of how what we did when we had to build the equation. But since it's just vertical, we can count the units. So I'm going to do D2 first. So from -18 to +2, how many units is that? 20. Okay, so the distance 2 is 20. And now distance 1, I have 2 points, so I'll use distance formula. So this is, I'm looking at point P first. So I'll start with F, and I'll do 0 - 12 squared plus -2 minus -18 squared. So let's calculate just what's under the radical. The minus -18 I'm going to make plus. So I'll calculate what's under the radical first, but I'm trying to get 20 because I want those distances to be the same. under here, which is 20. Okay, so that was point P. And then I'm doing the same thing for Q and R. Okay, so point Q is 6, -9 halves. So let me graph that. So -9 halves is 4.5. Okay, connect this point then to your F. So now I'll call that my distance 1. And then to the line, again, I'm going to do a vertical line. That's my distance 2. Okay, distance 2, since it's a vertical line, is the easier one to count. So if I started at -4.5 and I went up to +2, what would that distance be? 6.5. Okay? And then distance 1, we'll use distance formula. I think it's easier to write -9 halves in your calculator as -4.5. Just easier to type that in. All right, but I'll do 0 minus 6 squared plus -2 minus -9 halves, which I'm going to write as -4.5. Plus negative means you're going to add. So let's calculate that. And we should get 6.5. Does that work? You get 6.5? Okay. We're not going to do R, but if we had to do R, 4 radical 5, that's just a number. So type that in to see what it is approximately so you know where to graph it. And then you'll type in 4 square root 5 on your calculator when you're doing distance formula. All right, so these points are on the parabola. What I'm going to do next is find the equation of the parabola. I know the parabola opens down, and I know it opens down because it has to be between the focus and directrix. It has to be between the red point and the red line, and it cannot cross, it cannot intersect the red line. Okay, so it has to open down. So I know it's going to be opening down. You don't have to know which way it opens at this point. We'll study these more in detail when we get to 7-4 eventually. But for now, I'm going to talk about it a little bit just so we're a little familiar. Okay, so this is the next question, which is 28, and it says they're on the graph of a parabola. Let's find the equation of the parabola. So my focus that it gave me was 0, -2, and the directrix was y equals 2. So I'm just going to re-sketch those parts. I don't need the other points. Those were just examples of points on the parabola. So here's F, 0, -2. And here's the directrix at y equals 2. Okay, so this is like the problem we did about this yesterday. I need to pick, because I want x I want x and y. I need to pick an arbitrary xy, just a point xy somewhere. You really could put it anywhere. I know that this parabola opens down because, like I was explaining, that you can't intersect your directrix, and the focus ends up being inside your parabola. So I'm going to put the point over here. But it really doesn't matter where you place that point. That's sub xy. Okay, so where am I going to draw my lines now? I'm going to draw my lines from xy to the fixed point to f, okay? And then where else do I need to draw a line? To the line y equals 2. And what kind of line do I have to draw? Vertical line. Okay? So to do this, I am going to do distance formula twice, because I'm going to be showing that distance 1 equals distance 2. So I'm going to label this point where it intersects. So it has the same x coordinate, and then the y coordinate, because it's on this line, will be 2. Okay, so let's set up distance formula. So for distance 1, I'm going to start with xy. So x minus 0 squared plus y minus negative 2 squared. I'm going to go ahead and change the minus negative 2 squared to plus 2 squared. Okay, that's distance 1. Now distance 2, again, I'm going to start with xy. So x minus x squared plus y minus 2 squared. Right, that's the main idea. That is what I am showing. That's how I'm coming up with my equation. So now it's all about simplifying this. I'm trying to get a quadratic equation because that's what gives me a parabola. So the first thing I should do, square both sides. Let's get rid of the radicals by squaring both sides. What could I cancel out? Yeah, x minus x. X minus x is just 0, and 0 squared is just 0. So that term is gone. I also am going to rewrite this. X minus 0 is x, and x squared is x squared. So I'm just going to write that as x squared. Okay, I need to move the y plus 2 squared over to the right, because that's where the other y is. That's where I'm going to have my like terms. So I'm going to do minus y plus 2 squared on both sides. So on the left, all I have is x squared. So I get x squared equals y minus 2 squared minus y plus 2 squared. Okay, so remember to multiply those out. You'll have to either write them twice and use FOIL or use the shortcut. Okay, so this one, y minus 2 squared, so I need y squared, and then 2ab, so 2 times negative 2 times y is negative 2y, times 2 is negative 4y, and then negative 2 squared is positive 4, minus, I'm going to keep the second one in parentheses so I distribute my negative. Okay, so y squared, 2 times y is 2y times 2 is 4y, and then 2 squared is 4. Okay, go ahead and distribute your negatives so you can combine like terms. So the y squareds cancel because you have y squared minus y squared. Since it's a parabola, I need a quadratic equation, and a quadratic has only one squared term. So it should happen where one of your squared terms cancel out, either the x squared or the y squared. Because it tells me it's a parabola, so I know one of those has to cancel. Okay, then I have negative 4y and negative 4y is negative 8y. And then 4 and negative 4 cancels. Okay, so I'm really close at this point. X is my square term, so I want the y by itself. So divide by negative 8. So I will get y over x squared, y equals x squared divided by negative 8. And then remember yesterday we talked about how we don't leave that as a denominator. So instead of dividing by negative 8, we're actually multiplying by negative 1/8. And this gives me my equation. So quadratic equation, because you have a square term. I told you it opened down, so that makes sense that our a value is negative. Makes sense that it would open down. Okay? Anybody have any questions about this yet? All right, we'll do one more that's similar to that one. Okay, let's go ahead and graph the focus and directrix. So 4, 0 is the focus. And then x equals 9. It's x equals, so that's a vertical line. Okay, so before I do the rest, if I was talking about a parabola, and I wanted to know which way it opened, well, remember, it can't intersect your directrix, and F is inside. So this parabola would open left. So this would be a horizontal parabola. Again, we'll study that in more detail in 7.4, but that's, if you have a vertical directrix, then your parabola will be horizontal. Okay, so It says find an equation for the set of all points. So that's like finding the equation of a parabola. The distance from the focus to xy, so I have to place xy somewhere. I know it opens left, so I'll just put xy just over here. Again, you could place it anywhere. You could even put it to the right over here, like over here. It doesn't really matter where you put it. Even though that won't be a point over there, all you need is just an xy somewhere to help you write the equation. Okay, so the distance from the focus to xy, so this distance here, so distance 1 is, so equals 2/3 the distance from the directrix to xy. So then, since this is a vertical line, I know that from xy to the vertical line has to be horizontal, has to be perpendicular. So because I have that 2/3 there, this is actually not going to be a parabola. I mean, you're still going to solve it the same way, but I'll show you at the end why it's not a parabola. Okay, so I need the points, I need the ordered pairs, so help me label this point here. So what's the x coordinate here? 9. And the y coordinate? Y. Yes, good. Alright, so distance 1. Again, I'm going to start from my xy when I write out these distances. So I'm going to do x minus 4 squared plus y minus 0 squared equals 2/3. And I need distance 2. So that's going to be x minus 9 squared plus y minus y squared. Okay. So what's the first step? What's the first thing I should do? Good. Square both sides. All right. That 2/3 is there, so that also needs to be squared. Okay. That's part of this equation. So on the left, I'm going to get x minus 4 squared plus y minus 0 squared. And on the right, I have to do 2/3 squared. What is 2/3 squared? 4/9. Okay, and then I need to make sure I want to multiply by that 4/9. So I'm still going to put what's on the right in parentheses. Okay, so what cancels out? Yep, this y minus y squared cancels. So actually on the right, now I can just drop that extra parentheses because this second term canceled. So it's just 4/9 times x minus 9 squared. On the left, I have x minus 4 squared, and then plus y squared. So y minus 0 is just y, so y squared. Okay, so what term should I move over? What should move to the right? Yeah. The x minus 4 squared should move to the right because this is an x and this is an x. So those would be the like terms. So I'm subtracting x minus 4 squared. On the left, now I just have a y squared. And on the right, I have 4/9 times x minus 9 squared minus x minus 4 squared. All right, I need to multiply out those binomials. So I have to keep that 4/9 out front. So when I multiply out x minus 9 squared, I'm going to put it in parentheses so I can distribute 4/9 after I multiply out. We don't distribute first because order of operations says x minus 9, you would do parentheses, then the exponent, which is 2, and then multiply. So we have to expand it, do the squaring part first, and then multiply by 4/9. Okay, so if I do that shortcut, I'll have x squared, and then what's my next term? Negative 18x, and then plus 81. Good. Okay. Now I got to put the second one in parentheses as well, so I distribute the negative. So again, what would I get with that shortcut? X squared minus 8x plus 16. Good? Okay, so let's distribute. So I'm going to distribute 4/9. So that's 4/9 x squared. Okay, and you want to do 4/9 times negative 18x. And we get what? 4/9 times negative 18 is negative 8. 4/9 times 81, 36. Okay, and then distribute your negative, so minus x squared plus 8x minus 16. Combine your like terms. So 4/9 x squared and negative 1x squared. Should be negative 5/9 x squared. Yes.
Why would it distribute the negative and combine our terms?
Because this 4/9 is only multiplied by this right here, because of this step up here. So technically the 4/9 is distributed here, but since that was just 0, that went away. So the 4/9 is only right here. It's stuck with just this one. And so then negative 8x and positive 8x cancels. And 36 minus 16 is plus 20. Okay, so remember I said if it's quadratic, there'll be only one squared term. But I'm stuck with x squared and y squared. So this is not a parabola. It's actually an ellipse, but you don't need to know that yet. So just leave it. Just stop here. You did all the simplifying you can really do. Bless you. Okay. So, kind of a lot of work on getting these simplified. You want to start looking at some of these and practicing them. We will do 7-2 when we get back from break.